prospect of professional sports, especially NFL and NBA being rigged, it's both impossible and also unlikely, and I'll explain why. The first thing that would be required when rigging the actual gameplay, now some people think that the scheduling and the calls, as well as the draft lottery for the NBA, are rigged, and we'll talk about that in a second, but in terms of the actual games being rigged from a gameplay standpoint, in terms of the NFL saying, writing scripts, we want XYZ team to win, so we tell the players what to do when. If any of you have actually played sports before, you already know how incredibly difficult it is to do the things that these professional athletes do at the accuracy they do them at the speed they do them at, the contact they do them at, the conditions they do them at. When you say pro sports are rigged and they're getting top-down orders to, Justin Herbert on command can throw for 585 yards on Monday Night Football when he's told to, or Odell Beckham can catch a football with two fingers 58 yards down the field on the sideline on command. Think about how incredibly, not only is it amazing that they can do these things every once in a while, but if you think the NFL is rigged from the top down, you think that these players can do that on command at any moment. Steph Curry, and he pretty much can. I mean, he's shooting, 41% from three, but you believe that Steph Curry at any moment for the entertainment, for the NBA to make money, he can hit a three from anywhere on the court at any moment with any defense. That is what you believe. And honestly, when you really think about it, everyone knows that's not possible. It's not possible. I mean, unless these athletes are robots, unless these guys are AI and they're literally programmed. But what's even more obvious to me that no one seems to get, in the modern era, in the last 20 years, especially with gambling becoming legal in pretty much every state, I think it's 80% of the country of the United States, you can gamble on pretty much anything. You can gamble on which team is going to win, by how much, by how many points, how many yards, how many commercials we'll get from Coca-Cola in the Super Bowl. If you believe the NFL is rigging it for the Kansas, because that's the most common one in the NFL, is the Kansas City Chiefs. They love the Kansas City Chiefs. Taylor Swift dated Travis Kelce. It's a deep government cabal, and they're rigging it for the Chiefs. Okay, that's interesting. I'll grant you that they're rigging it for the Chiefs. Let's just play this out. My next question is, how many penthouses do you have? Because if you have an infinite money glitch, you can bet on the Chiefs to win, and they're going to win every game, and then you might be like, oh, well, technically they actually lost one game because the NFL doesn't make it obvious. Okay, so you still have an unlimited money glitch. You know, the betting markets have the Chiefs at a 65% chance to win, but you know the chance is actually 95%, and the NFL is going to make sure they win. Sounds like an infinite money glitch, and I'm not sure why you haven't taken advantage of it if you think the games are rigged for the Chiefs. Now, another thing that I'd like to point out is, if they were rigging the games for the Chiefs, why? Why are the best teams in the NFL, the most marketable teams? You have the Kansas City Chiefs, small market. You have the Buffalo Bills, small market. You have the Cincinnati Bengals, small market. You have the Baltimore Ravens, small market. In Philadelphia, the Eagles have been pretty good the last 10 years, but the top teams, when you look at the top teams that get the most eyeballs, they aren't the big markets. If the NFL was, or in the NBA, if either of these teams were rigging it, they would make sure that the Jets and Giants were dominant. They would make sure that the Chicago Bulls were good. They would make sure that the Lakers and Clippers were good every year. They would make sure that the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Heat, these big market teams, Chicago, Miami, New York, Los Angeles, why are these teams not dominant? I mean, all the teams in LA, when was the last time an LA football or basketball team has been dominant? The Clippers have been good-ish. The Rams have been okay. The Chargers have been mediocre. The Bulls, both Chicago teams have been mediocre. The Jets and Giants have stunk forever. The Knicks have stunk forever and have gotten good the last couple of years. The Nets have not been good. So if these sport leagues are rigging it for money, why are they not making sure that the big markets are winning? And as well, rigging it for money, you would want to make it as entertaining as possible. Why are there blowouts in prime time? If they can control this stuff, Why is it not as cinematic as possible? You can't rig it, in this hypothetical, you can't rig every game, but you can't crank it up. We get a buzzer beater every 100 games. Why can't they make that one in every 10? They have full control over it. Why not get us more entertained? Now, some of you might be like, okay, well, I guess it is true that if I really thought that the Chiefs were guaranteed wins, I would bet on them and get rich instantly. Because look, if you can bet on these things, put your money where your mouth is at. And it's like, everyone said when the Mavericks, they had a 1.7% chance to get the first overall pick and draft Cooper Flagg, and they just traded away a huge star to LA, and everyone connects those dots and says, look, the NBA, they told the Mavericks, if you trade away Luka, you can get Anthony Davis, and then we'll guarantee you the number one pick. Polymarket had gambling on this. If you truly thought that the plus 5,000 Mavericks to get the number one overall pick, why would you not bet that? You bet $1 and you win 50. It doesn't make sense to me. It really makes no sense to me. It's like these things you can gamble on. If you truly thought that the Mavericks, who had, let's just say 2% to make math easier, if you really thought they only had a 2% chance to win, but you knew it was a fact, why would you not bet on that? It completely. And here's the other thing. It's like when we're talking about the probability of these things, people are like, look, something unlikely happened. Every NBA draft lottery is unlikely. The highest percentage teams, there's a couple teams with a 15% chance, then 12, then 10, then 8, then 6, then 4, then a few with 2. Every single year someone has to, quote-unquote, unlikely win it. No one is an odds-on favorite to win the draft lottery. And over a 50-year span, it is expected that we will have a team with a 2% chance to win. That's how probability works. It's not that complicated. It just is absurd in the face. Now, something that some people will point to, you'll see these accounts on TikTok and Instagram. They'll say, look at this rigging. This player, he didn't cover my spread for me. I don't know how to explain this to people who they're just purely not very smart. These athletes, their goal is to win the game. I repeat that. Their goal is to win the game. There was a Nick Chubb play. They were up 10-3 against the Texans. And the spread was, I believe it was 7.5. It might have been 8.5. But regardless, they were up by 7. And the spread was not covered. He broke away a long run on the left sideline. It was in Cleveland. And he went down to 1. There was under 2 minutes left. The Texans had no timeouts. Him going down guarantees the game and does not put the defense back on the field. These fans see that play and they're like, this is obvious rigging. And it's just like, you either have, if he goes down at the 1, the Browns get a 100% chance to win that game. If he scores, 2 things happen. Number 1, the defense at the end of a game has to go back out onto the field and give effort, possibly get injured, possibly have a crazy play happen. And what, is it a 99%, 98% chance to win? Yeah. Why send your team back out there? Like, it doesn't make sense to me when these fans will see things that are so obvious. Or NBA, the players, they'll be up by 6 and they won't go for a shot. Or they'll be down by 7 and they won't go for the last second shot. It's like, the game is over. They're not trying to cover spreads for you. Now, one more thing I did want to touch on is, so some people will see players doing things and they're like, that's proof the game is rigged, I lost my bet. And it's like, no, they're trying to guarantee a win. They don't, like, whatever. But people will see videos of calls, and usually what we'll see, there was a Knicks and Celtics goaltending that I remember pretty specifically. I think it was in Game 4 or Game 5. But there was a goaltend, the Celtics, and it was a goaltend, to be fair, against the Knicks. He threw it up off the backboard. The guy blocked it off the backboard. And then the Celtics took it down, and I'm pretty sure they hit a 3. They might have got an and 1, but they scored 3 points right off of that. And the referees didn't give the 2 points to the Knicks. And the thing is, we see this on the replay during the commercial break from an overhead angle from 14 feet in slow motion. And fans will be like, that was so obvious, man. Like, how did they not see that goaltending? When I watched it live, I had no clue. It was one of those where I'm like, I don't know. Whatever they call, I guess. They didn't call goaltending. I didn't think it was goaltending. I saw the slow motion replay from 14 feet up in the air, and it's like, yeah, that was goaltending now that we can see frame by frame. The referees are not watching these things. Like, the thing is, if you're watching it in TV, there's a good chance you have a better angle of specific things than the referees. When you watch these things in slow motion during the commercial break from 8 different angles, the referees were not watching it live from those angles. I really don't get this point. People will be like, that was obvious. And I'm like, yeah, from the overhead angle, when LeBron James fouled Anthony Edwards when they had to take it to replay and they overturned the call, it's like nobody sees that live. I watched it live and I didn't see the foul. The referees didn't see the foul. No one on the court saw the foul. They went to replay because it's an out of bounds in the last 10 seconds and they ended up calling 2 free throws for Anthony Edwards. Just because a call gets missed, or that happens also pretty often, is there's a close call. There's a 50-50 call or a 60-40 call and people are debating it. And if it doesn't go your team's way, there's a deep conspiracy. Any call that's close that goes against your team, it's a deep conspiracy. Any call that gets missed, oh man, they were just rigging it. It could have not been. They just had an angle where they couldn't see it. It's like, can we be logical here? Is it possible that the referees in real time didn't have access to the slow motion from the 72-degree angle with saturation turned up? It's like some of these angles that we'll be watching, be like, yeah, that was obvious. It's like that wasn't provided. And look, if you're still not convinced that pro sports aren't rigged, I really would just say it's as simple as, why are you not rich? If you believe pro sports are rigged, and you can tell me who they're rigging it for, the big market teams, Patrick Mahomes, XYZ, it's like, you know who they're rigging it for. You know the Mavericks were going to get the number 1 overall pick. Why aren't you betting on these things? It doesn't make sense.